Give a fuck. Actually got the ball. Good afternoon, my fellow Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy Dave, a European champion, may I add. So hello to all my fellow European champions out there. We are previewing the very last game of the season. Your boy is back from the parade. Now, I will not lie to you, didn't really prepare much for this like I usually do because I've just been on one big vibe session since Wednesday night. So it's just going to sort of be made up as we go along. So if there's anything you want answered, now's the time to get them in the chat and we'll go through them as we go along. But gentlemen, my fellow European champions, I mean, Dermot, Drew, you know, we spoke together before the game. You know, we've done the pre-match build-up. We were all pretty confident Tottenham were going to get over the line. I know two of you probably want to have a bit on Johnson. We will get into that at one stage. But I want to find out, how good does it feel to end that 17-year trophy drought, boys?
I still can't believe it. It hasn't sunk in with me yet. It'll probably sink in during the summer, but it hasn't sunk in. All I keep saying is, champion, needs champion. That's all I keep saying. I wake up in the middle of my sleep saying that. Champions of Europe. The second time. And I've seen it when I was 7, and I've seen it when I'm 48. I am so fucking happy. Come on, you Spurs. We're back. Tottenham are back.
What were your emotions when the final whistle went, Dermo?
I cried. I cried like a baby live on YouTube. I literally sobbed like there was no tomorrow. I broke down in tears and I cried. My Derval now, Mrs. Tron, said she never heard me shout so loud in all her life. Like she was wearing headphones watching something. I even drowned that out. And then I just burst into tears. I literally burst into tears. It was just all the emotion. I still can't believe it. And every time I watch Ange or I watch something in the final, I start crying again. It's just. Oh, I'm so happy. I am so happy. Come on, yes.
Do you know what? When we won, I thought, especially when Johnson scored, the first thing I thought about was you and Drew. I was like, I was like, the boys are going to be absolutely over the moon. But look, before we get into Johnson, I mean, Drew, how did it feel for you? I tried ringing you after the game. I couldn't get a hold of you. You said the emotions got the best of you. You didn't want to talk. So how were you after the game? How did you celebrate?
It was funny because I'd had so many, just some rough moments the last couple of days prior to the game, because I just wasn't able to sleep. I didn't think it would be on my mind as much as it was. So I was running on empty for that game. And then, as soon as that full-time whistle went, I must admit, I shed a bit of a tear. I think it was emotion. I got a picture of my mum and dad here. They were Spurs fans. So this I wish that they could have seen it, because the last game I got to see with my old man was Champions League final, and then obviously mum passing last year, so all she saw was the shit side of this season, unfortunately. But so it sounds weird. I took a nap. I was so emotionally drained, and I was all the release and everything. And I was just like, do you know what? I just took a big, deep breath and I just took a nap for a couple of hours. And the best thing was I woke up and it wasn't a dream.
Yeah.
Did you know what I mean? I was just, it was just back on it again. And it's weird because obviously living in Kansas City, there's not a huge amount of football. I mean, we have a local MLS team, but it's quite funny. I've been wearing this hat for the last few days. Last few places, like, everyone going, is that Tottenham hat? Is that Spurs hat? I saw somebody with a Sonny jersey the other day, halfway down the street in middle of downtown. I went, that's what I'm talking about. Come on, you Spurs. And he was a block and a half away, and the dude turned around and was like, yeah.
So, do you know what, Drew? It's the same in Gorey. It's the same in Gorey. You never see a Spurs fan in Gorey. Right. And I swear to God, I've seen more fans in my local town than I've ever seen in my life. And everyone's walking around. Even I got Liverpool fans coming up to me. Well done, lad. Well done for winning the Champions League. So Man United fans coming up to me. No, you're the best team. You deserve it. Even an Arsenal fan come up to me.
Do you know what, though, Dermo? I don't want to hear it from them. They spent years berating us, calling us broke artists, photo jobs and stuff like that. I know. They're only doing that now because we beat them.
Yeah, I know that.
Just tell them to F off. That's what I'm doing. Anyone that comes up to me, I'm like, who do you support? Oh, I'm a Liverpool fan. Okay, I don't want to hear it. Good luck. You know?
Yeah, but it was just everyone's, and I've seen more Spurs fans coming out of the woodwork. It's unreal. Like, we've all come out of everywhere. Yeah. Everyone's a Tottenham fan, and it's brilliant. It's great to see.
My missus was going down to the shop earlier, and her man's a United fan. So I said to her, I'll stick the jersey on, wind your mother up a little bit. And she came back. She says, at least 4 people stopped me talking about Tottenham Hotspur. It's mad, honestly. Every other day of the week, you wear something down. They'll be pointing and laughing at you, sniggering, making snide jokes behind your back and stuff. It's absolutely brilliant. Do you know what, boys? I have to say, the parade. I was at the parade, and I just want to say one thing. The amount of people that came up or, came over to, show themselves to me and were like, love the work, really appreciate the channel and everything else. It was actually very overwhelming. It was really, really nice to see how much people appreciate it and stuff like that. So I want to say a massive thank you to everybody. It's I well and truly feel ingrained into the Spurs fan base. It was absolutely unbelievable for someone like me who doesn't get to be there as often as other people and stuff. To be accepted the way I was absolutely unbelievable. It was all day long. So I want to say a massive thank you to everybody, absolutely everybody. From the number 8 bar, then where we stood outside the stadium, there was 3 people in front of us, massive fans of the channel. Just happened to be, there was an Australian guy that flew in, he was a massive fan of the channel and everything else. It was unbelievable. But I also want to give one special shout out to DJ AK, who spent the day with me. And what a day we had. Initially, he wasn't actually going to go. And I said to him, I said, man, you're going to regret it. And he ended up going. He ended up thanking me in the end for me sort of forcing him to go. And it was an unbelievable day out we had. The flares, the sing songs. It was unbelievable camaraderie. And, I was just outside the stadium to the right of the stage. and just looking along, people up on roofs, climbing drain pipes. It's what it's all about. There must have been at least 150,000, if not more there. It was an absolutely unbelievable day. You could not move there for hours. It was absolutely unbelievable. And then when the bus comes along, seeing the players enjoy themselves, Romero and Basuma were having an absolute whale of a time. Even seeing Johnson, when they're trying to get him off the stage and he keeps running on, back to the Spurs fans doing all of that. It was absolutely unbelievable scenes. But the parade was the best day of my life. I was on the go since 4:30 that morning. I didn't get back to my hotel room till I think nearly midnight. I was on the go all day long, but it was just unbelievable to stand there and soak it all up. Absolutely unbelievable day. I've got plenty of footage, that, I'll put out over the coming days, or maybe even put together to make a new intro. How good would that be heading into next season, just seeing that bus come along outside the stadium and all. But it was an unbelievable day, and I want to say thank you to every Spurs fan that made it an even better day for me, showing some love and appreciation. Absolutely unbelievable. Look, let's take some of the comments and then let's crack on, guys. On your bike, Scott says, big up, lads. On my way to the game. Should be a good atmosphere. Come on, you Spurs. Big up on your bike, Scott. Enjoy yourself today. It's going to be a carnival atmosphere. It's probably the best game of the year to go to. Look, performance-wise, it's probably going to be a bit of a shit show, judging by the state of them players on Friday. I'd say there's going to be a few hangovers on that football pitch today, and rightly so. But, at the end of the game, they're going to bring the families on the pitch. They'll do the lap of honour, give out the end of season awards, parade the trophy around. It's going to be an absolute carnival atmosphere. I should have saved my trip and binned off the Palace one and said, I'll do the Brighton one instead. Oh, absolutely regrets. Big up on your bike, Scott. We've got Derek Hutchison. Big up Dave Jack on the panel. Come on, you Spurs. Big up Del Boy, my fellow European champion. You deserve it. You've been around a long time, buddy. Another one that deserves it is Paul. Big up Dave and Jack, a panel European champions, baby. No better feeling than becoming winners. You're absolutely spot on. I almost feel like I'm waiting for someone just to sort of wake me up. Or Dave, you've been in a coma for a couple of years. It does not feel real, my man. Says, we did it, boys. Party at the ground today, and let's hope for a starting lineup. So we see us get our strong lineup. So we see us get a victory. We've also got Danny Darko, champions. Oi, oi, come on, you Spurs. We've got Shem, Tam, Afternoon, Jack and Dave. Hope you're both well and still basking in the champions' glow. Honestly, I've said this and I've said it so long. People ask me, how do you feel on Andrew? I've always said, let's see if we get over the line in the final. I have my feelings now, but that would probably change when we win. I've said that all along. And to be honest with you, the amount of people I see saying, give him another opportunity, give him next season and stuff like that. Still a few out there that are still firmly in their camp. And look, that's, rightly so. They have their opinions, they have their beliefs, and stuff like that. But the amount of people, I've always said winning will make you feel differently. And boy, it has. Big up, Shem Tam, Afternoon, Jack and Dave. Hope you're all both well and basking in the champions' glow. We are, man. We've got Just a Harmless Potato. Hello, European champions. Big up, my man, European Spuds. And we've also got Tarrant Spurs, still feeling like I'm in a dream and I don't want to wake up, boys. Big up to all of you. We deserve this moment. What's that song? Don't Wake Me Up, Chris Brown. Don't Wake Me. Great song. Fans Radfar 4-1 Spurs. Big up my favorite channel. Congratulations again. Did David go to the parade? I was there briefly, but hard to find anyone in the sea of fans. I hope the club allows Ange to build something serious. I was at the parade, my man. I had a very, very long day, but it was the best day of my life. Just unleashing the hands, taking in the ray of sun, singing Spurs songs with the eyes closed. It's what it's all about, my man. And to be honest with you, there was plans to meet up with other people. You couldn't get anywhere. You could not move. You couldn't get anywhere. If there was anyone on the opposite side of the road, you're not getting across to them. You just could not move, my man. It was absolutely brilliant. We've got Kerry King. Come on, you Spurs. Still can't quite believe we've done it. Champions. Absolutely love that. He says champions. Who else have we got? We've got the True Pot says, come on, you Spurs. I'm ready for the strangest lineup. Look, it'd be interesting to see how many of the under-21 players are shoved out there today. It'd be very interesting. Aaron Robinson, good vibes only. Time to go out with a bang, not a whimper. Absolutely spot on. We've also got Tango bin Rashid. Good to see you. Who else have we got in the house?
Big up, Spud.
Derek Hutchinson still wants Ange out. We've got Shotsky says, question for the panel. Would be interested to hear Jack's opinion too. Do you personally want Ange to be manager next season? Not a leading question. And I'm not taking the piss. Honestly, just curious. No, look, I mean, look, it's a massive talking point, right? It's been a massive talking point for how many months? How many weeks in the build up to this final? And it's still a massive talking point now. Look, we will address it today, and I'll bring it up to the panel. But to be honest with you, I'm probably going to end up waiting about 2-3 weeks, and just sort of, I'm vibing out. I'm going away with my old lad for a few days next week. I'm absolutely just on the vibing out and stuff like that. So, and then once I've come down, then I'll start coming back to reality and dealing with Tottenham's problems. Look, I spent so many years giving out about what we've done wrong and stuff like that. And I've always said, when we win, I am going to enjoy it the most. I'm going to enjoy it longer than anybody. And that I definitely am, my man. But we will talk about it today. Big up, Wayne Bonner. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. And this legend, him and his wife are in number 8. Do you know what? He was looking at me a couple of times. I was like, what's he looking at? What's he looking at? And then next thing, he just hears the accent, I think, and he comes straight over. What a character this is, Daddy Baby. Great to see you, my man. Great to see you in the number 8 bar and a great day out. Oh, man, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? Unbelievable. What a character this guy is, though. He's got love. Maybe come on and speak to us one day. He sits there. He says he has all the pre-match pump-ups on, listening to all of you guys. He thinks you're all great. And then also with the watch-alongs as well. If you ever want to come on and have your say, feel free, my man. Big up, Daddy Baby. And nice to see you and your wife.
Big up, man.
We've also got AJ. Do we have any players that we can play today, lol? They must ask them. Honestly, there's going to be
Levy and Doris are doing a double pivot. It's Levy and Doris, the tea lady in midfield today.
Might have to ring up Josh Keeley and Donnelly and ask them what they're doing after
the
playoff final today, and probably ring Dorrington and get him back after his cup success. By the way, huge congratulations to Alfie Dorrington yesterday. Yeah. Winning really is contagious. Aberdeen beating Celtic. Unheard of, fair play to Alfie Dorrington. Absolutely unbelievable loan spell for him. And then hopefully Josh Keeley and Donnelly can back it up today.
Yeah, man.
As they say,
keep your gloves on. Keeley, keep your gloves on. Keeley, keep your gloves on.
One man I was absolutely upset to miss was Rain Man. Rain Man, next time we're over, we have to make it happen, my man. We have to make it happen next time I'm over. Really upset I missed you, my man. Good to see you. We've got Celery Agent. Big up, Celery Agent. Good to see you, my fellow European champion. We've got Mud FC, Kitman up top, Levy in goal. Good to see you. We've got Terry Fletch, Spurs to win. Who else have we got? We've got Knock. Who's there? This club is not a joke anymore. Absolutely love that. Ian says, hopefully we win so we can at least not be 17th, Lord. It'd be nice to finish above Man United today, plus have the European success, wouldn't it? Big up, Seeker One. Emily's in the house. She says, make sure you don't forget to subscribe and all that good jazz, guys. Adrian Parker, happy day, Spurs fans. Now I hope everyone notices how big a club we are after that amazing parade. We're absolutely spot on, my man. But you know what? I always thought it was going to be that big. But we've always been a big club. Everyone just mocks our recent history, but we have history. We've got European trophies that Arsenal only dream about, only dream of. And the fact that we've got another one in the cabinet now, hopefully you see a lot of fans of my generation or my era start standing up to these Arsenal scum with chests now, waving Europa League in front of them. Big up, Keith Park. Good to see you as well. Some people reckon 200 quid. Look, it could have been, like I said, you could not move. And honestly, I think we went back to the number 8 bar after. When I was leaving there, walking down the high road, the state of the place was there was a massive parade with definitely over a couple of 100,000 people there. The police was still around everywhere. There was just empty cans everywhere. It was unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Who else have we got here? Sean Brown, great to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Don Pappas, good to see you. We've also got the Boonverse. Champione, good to see you, my man. Phil Coy's great to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Champions, my man, we finally fucking done it. Big up, Big Mike as well. Big up, lads. Champions of Europe. Good to see you, Big Mike. Nico, my man, hopefully you're keeping well. Let me know how you celebrate. I may actually give you a phone call tomorrow at some point and see how you've been celebrating it. Good to see you. Got Andy English all the way. Did you say Cyprus, if I remember correctly? Good to see you. We've also got PB and Jam. Great to see you. Good Entertainment Beats. Good to see you, along with John. And then we also have Aussie, Kois. Evening, gents. Still can't believe we did it. I must have watched the replay of the game 4 to 5 times since Thursday morning. Looking forward to seeing who was sober enough to take the field today. Do you know what? It wasn't a great game at all. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to win dog ugly. Many people said we couldn't do it that way, and we showed a different side to us. So absolutely brilliant. Dermotron member for 39 months. Geez, one more. It's 40 months. Big up, Dermo. Big up, Dave and Jack. Thank you for everything you've done this season for us. You deserve all the love you both get. Let's now kick on and win more cups. Well, the way to do that is First of all, we've got to sort out the whole manager situation. So we're going to actually probably go straight into that. We'll just start that. Dark Song G says, come on, you Spurs, can't wait to see the Guard of Honor today. Well, that's another thing. I've never seen Tottenham being given a Guard of Honor in my life, my man. It's going to be unbelievable to see respect. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable, my man. Big up Dark Song G. And we've got Heiberg checking back in. Good to see you, Pierre. And then we've also got Rick Esmond as well. Reginola, Soul Sniper Gaming. Good to see you. Mario Sava. And we've also got Glenn Kenty just in. Thomas Frank 1-2 favorite to become manager. Well, guys, we'll start there. I mean, look, after today's game, you know, all the conversation is going to be about who's going to be in charge of Tottenham Hotspur next season, who's going to be in the dugout. Now, look, it's fair to say, I think I would argue about 80-90% of the Spurs fan base, at one point wanted Ange Postecoglou gone. He stuck through it. He's ended up delivering. In his speeches since then, he's sort of laid down that he wants to stay committed to Tottenham Hotspur, but we still haven't really heard anything from the club's point of view on what direction they're going to go in after today's game. Look, to be honest with you, I'd rather be able to sit here and just vibe out, and I'm going to do that for most of the day. But like I said, I don't have much prepared, so I suppose it's a conversation we'll have to get into. People want to talk about. I mean, we'll start with you on this one, Drew. Where do you stand on Ange Postecoglou now?
I mean, I said weeks ago I thought he deserved. Maybe deserve is the wrong word. I thought, given the circumstances, given what we've been through this season, given the fact that at times, we've been bare bones, the fact that he's been able to, from my point of view, the way he's been able to handle it, and some people turn around and say, Drew, yeah, he hasn't handled it right, but I just take a different view. I think it's easy to change. It's easy to move the goalposts once things have happened, but I think if you go back to when he says he decided he made that.
Was the goalpost moved originally? Because a lot of people are, were saying before the Frankfurt away game, once we won, Ange is useless. He's never going to be able to win us anything, this, that, and the other. And then once we beat Frankfurt, then all of a sudden everyone starts coming out.
That's what I'm talking about. It's easy to move the goalpost with hindsight and do it after the fact. But I think what he did, I think if you actually listen to what he said, from my perspective, he's basically decided at the end of January, and he did make a point. He said at the end of the transfer window, the end of January, we assessed, and I said basically that we were going to go for this cup. Long and the short of it, if you read between the lines, he's kind of sacked off the league. Now, I don't.
Said that, didn't he? That he made
yeah. Now, I for one, I would put a hand on heart, and I've categorically probably bored people to tears, saying when there were 33 points on the table, I wanted to go for. Do you know what I mean? I wanted.
You were being called deluded, man. So if you
I was, and I called myself deluded, but I wanted. And the reason that I was so staunch on that is because I wanted to see something that resembled a team that was suddenly turning a corner. We were getting some performances. Do you know what I mean? There was some cohesion. I think what's happened is when he's decided to go for the cup, I think he's genuinely looked at the league. I think he's looked at the players that he's got. He's gauged how long it could potentially take them to come back. And I think in his mind, he's looked at the league. He's looked at the potential of what we could do in the league. And he's weighed up, okay, I can sack off everything else and we could maybe get to 7th, maybe 6th at an absolute push. But that still doesn't win us anything. And I think in his mind, I think he was adamant that the most important thing for this club to do was win something. Now, this could have all completely backfired and we could be sitting here saying, well, he got it absolutely wrong. What an idiot. But fact is, I don't think people maybe take into consideration just how far away we were in the league from other teams that had been playing week in, week out.
We were almost going to have a perfect run from January.
Yeah, it was just, I just feel like there was too much for us to catch up. He had the players coming back, but I think he knew that there was no way that they were just going to gel instantly, and he still had to manage minutes. And I just think he decided, you know what, I can manage minutes better, and I think I can get more of a result in Europe than I can in the league. And even if I sack off Europe and I do manage to get some sort of harmony in the league, I'm only ever going to get to 7th or 8th or 6th, maybe. So, you know, if I take myself out of this feeling now, try my best to, would I be happy with qualifying for the Europa League and no cup next season? Or would I rather have what I've got now? Well, I'd rather have what I've got now, but it's got to be on the understanding that this has to be a one and done. This can't be the norm.
Yeah.
Like if we end up doing a Seville for a couple of years, right? And we are kind of there or thereabouts, but we're winning a cup, you know, Europa League or FA Cup or something like that. If we're doing that for a couple of seasons to work our way up to the point where we're in that top 3, top 4, always challenging, then I get it. But this can't be, okay, well, we won a cup, 17th. We'll put no investment into the team. We'll buy another couple of youngsters and we'll just try our best to make this work again. Like, that's not what this is. This has to be a springboard for something better.
Yeah.
And as far as Ange, I genuinely think he's managed the team with all the tools that he's had available to him on any given Saturday or Sunday or Wednesday or Thursday. I think he's done as good as any other manager would have done in this situation. Now, I heard somebody the other day, or even yesterday, I think completely negate the fact that we've had all these injuries and just expected that we should have been able to we should have been challenging on 2 fronts. And I just think if you take the season and you look at it and you actually go back and analyze how bad it's been, I just think he made the right choice. And I think he's earned the right to make another choice. And if he wants to stay and carry on, he should be given the beginning of the season, because I'm of the mind that if it genuinely goes to shit, you can nip it in the bud early enough, and there will be people available that will come in. We sign enough players that are team or squad or Tottenham players that I don't know. I know. I might be completely deluded about that. It might be that you have to just draw a line under it. You have to get a new guy in because he has to get his new players in. I think he deserves the right to be given another go.
The thing is, I think, you know, there has to be a huge decision here. And if they're going to stick with Ange, you know, they have to at least say, right, we'll stick with him up until around January. Because the reason why I say that is you're going into this summer, we're going into a Champions League season. We're going to have to spend a decent amount of money to be able to improve this squad and drag it up to that standard. If you end up bringing him in the first 10 games, if you end up keeping him the first 10 games and it doesn't work, then you're bringing in a manager, a bit like Ruben Amorim for Ten Hag, right? He hasn't really been able to get his players and stuff like that.
The difference, I feel like the only difference between him and Ten Hag is that I genuinely feel that Ten Hag had lost a lot of the dressing room, and I just don't think that's the case with Ange.
I agree.
And whether that's me just being romantic about the whole thing, I'm concerned that we're building something. See, the difference I think between that situation and this situation is I think we're building something, whereas I think that thing had already fallen apart and had already run its course.
No, I agree with you with the Ten Hag situation.
Yeah, I just think we potentially run the risk of breaking apart something that now finally might have a little bit of momentum.
No, look, what I'm getting at is more, if we end up changing Ange after 10 games and it doesn't work, you're going to get into a situation where you're bringing in a manager. He's going to be unhappy with a lot of the squad because he's going to want his own players and stuff like that. And you're almost effectively writing off next season to a large degree. Look, where the club are at right now, it's clear that the players, appreciate Ange. They like playing for him. He's protecting them all season long. I've been open and I've said that. That's why there's still many people said that, why would they still be there? And I've always said, I've always maintained he's protecting them in the press. Players absolutely appreciate that. You've heard loads of players come out and say that. And I think you're at the point now, if you sack him, you risk a lot of that squad being unhappy. Maybe you even risk some players leaving and stuff like that. So I think it's a bit of a situation now where they have to go into next season.
Yeah, I think also as well, Dave, I think maybe there needs to be possibly an understanding that football has changed a little bit in terms of transfers and managers and things like that, because I think this has been brought up many a time, especially, I mean, Sean Butler, big up Sean Butler. He's mentioned it quite a lot that, you know, managers typically last at a club for half the time, if not less than half the time of what a player is signed on a contract for.
Yeah.
So I think more and more nowadays, players are signed for a club and a style of play and not necessarily a specific manager. So if you, and that's the way it should be, right? Because then there's less upheaval when you do have to, unfortunately, make the change. You bring somebody in that works with. I mean, I've been there all along, buddy. I've been there all along.
Yeah. I spent all season saying that it's the club signing players beyond the manager, because the manager's never here to see out the 4 or 5 year contract they're giving out.
Exactly. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we need, I mean, as good as I think Brennan Johnson has been in his second season, and I think he still has room to get better. Ideally, you would hope that he hasn't reached his ceiling at 23, although I can understand why people would think that maybe he has. But we do need, you know, regardless of that, we need a right winger. We need, I think personally, someone 25, 28, been there, has had a couple of seasons in Europe already, somebody that can kick us on. What I don't want is to bring in some 22, 23-year-old right winger that's not really going to push the right winger that, you know, some people say we don't have anyway. And I don't want to, you know, do you know what I mean? I want to, I mean, Ryan Cherky's name's been bandied about, and let's not, like, he's been fantastic this year. I think he's got 40 GA. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. But there is still a slight concern that he's coming from a league that's not as fast, not as energetic, not as physical. And at that point, you think to yourself, all right, if we're going to kick on, the likes of a Brian Mbeumo, for example, might just be a better choice than a Ryan Cherky, because the dude's been there and done it. He's built like a brick shithouse. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't take him 6 months, 12 months to hit the ground running, because it's familiar. So I think if we can be clever, and that's a player that I think we need, regardless of who the manager is. My personal preference is that the reason I gave it 10 games is just because I think that's the general consensus from the people that say give him time, give him the beginning of the season. I think if we give him the ability to do what he needs to do, and we back him properly with the players, not necessarily the exact player that he wants, but players, you know, if you've got a short list, he'll be like, well, not ideal, but I'd take any one of those 3. You know, if we're giving him the option of signing Timo Werner on 2 loans again, then this is just, it's going to fail regardless. The dude's going to lose regardless. No, look, so it's about the club giving him the tools that he needs to be able to do what he actually wants to do.
100%, because I think there's been a big thing made about, when people are, Andrews almost blamed for everything, and people saying this squad is a lot better. And I sort of question, well, is it really? You know, you look at the 21 defeats. Yeah, you can blame Ange Postecoglou, but you know, we've played a lot of squad players, and at the end of the day, they haven't been able to stand up to test at the end of the day. And you know, I've always said we need to be signing more quality if we want to compete across multiple fronts and not sacrifice one competition for another. That's where you need a squad of quality, and that's what we have to continue to build now. There are going to be players that will be shipped out this summer and new ones coming in, but they have to be a lot better than what we've already got. And then you lay the you lay it down to the players that we've currently got. Then you know, okay, can you drag yourself up to this standard? And you know, if they can't, then you get them gone next, and you bring in more players. But we've got to build a quality squad. But Dermot, I think the big question comes in though, man. This is where I still have my doubts. Like, don't get me wrong. I think my big thing before the final was looking at the amount of money that they're losing by not selling out that stadium. It was almost going to force their hand into sacking them. But now that we've won, the stadium's going to be full today. It's going to be full at the start of next season. The merch, I can tell you now, that shop has been going since Wednesday. It's making some amount of money. So that's not really going to affect their decision anymore. We're going to make more money now than ever before. Yeah. But the big question is, can Ange compete on multiple fronts? Because in the 2 seasons that he's been here, the first season, all we had was the league. We went out in the Carabao Cup at the first time of asking. We finished 5th. But then this season, we've almost sacked off the league, but we've won a Europa League. And I know, you know, winning trophies is what football's about and stuff like that. But going into next season, there's going to be even more pressure on them to be able to deliver across all fronts. That expectation is now going to be there from Spurs fans to compete at everything, because Everton says we are a big club. We are, like, look at the parade. We're not a club that should be sacrificing one competition for another. We should be going looking to compete in all of them.
I think he can compete on all fronts. I really do. I think if we get the transfer window right, then give him the players, to give him the squad to compete on all fronts, then I think he can. This last summer, we didn't do the transfer. We didn't do him justice with the transfer window in both windows. We didn't back him properly, and it came back on bits on the arse. So he had to make a decision in January. What do I do? And he picked the right choice. I have to go for a trophy. I win something in my second season. And he did state that, and I'm going for that. But I think he can. I think Ange, I wouldn't even give him 10 games next season. I give him the season. I really would. I'd give him the whole next season. Giving them 10 games, what's that proving? You've got 10 games to prove yourself. There's no point. You need to give him the whole season next year. Let him build something in the summer. And I think the club have to come out today with some sort of a statement, one way or the other, this is what we're doing. I think this uncertainty doesn't help either. Now, he's still under contract, so the club really don't have to say anything. He can waddle off on his holidays, rock up on the 1st of whenever he has come back and gets back to work. So the club don't really have to say anything unless they're, I'll go and get rid of him.
On the club saying something, Dermot, do you know what you sent me there? Is that out of the match day program?
Yeah, it's at the match day program.
That's out of the match day program today. So if you're looking at the end of it, let's enjoy this moment as a club together. Finish the season strong with a win today and go again next year. Does that maybe hint that everyone's staying together, even Ange, that he's going to keep his job heading into next season? I know he doesn't actually clarify that in that segment there in the match day program, but that last part, let's go again next year.
Yeah.
Maybe signals that this is staying together.
I think if you read between the lines, it does. I mean,
can you bring it up on here so we can let people read it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I think I can. Hang on, let me see. I mean, I was told. I am bringing up my own WhatsApp, so do.
While you do that, I'll take this. We'll give you a second to sort that out, and we'll let you come back to it. Patrick O'Donnell says his winning today important for Ange's end of season review to give him a little more cushion in his negotiation position when talking about league position. Look, I think a win today would. I think it would probably ease or maybe turn a couple more minds. But honestly, I'm not sure today plays a huge bearing in the decision, to be honest with you, on that one, Patrick O'Donnell. I would say more the Europa League would have more impact or more bearing on the decision from the club rather than today. But I do think a win today would maybe ease some fans' concerns even further going into next season, that's for sure. So can we enlarge on that, Dermo?
Yeah, I can, yeah. Sorry.
So we do have chats there. We will get to you in a minute. I'll bring up comments on that as well.
That's the best I can do, sorry, without losing everything.
Okay. You want to read it out or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can do it. Dear all, we did it. Yeah, come on. What an unforgettable night it was in Bilbao as we ended a long wait for glory. This is a huge moment for the whole club and a historic achievement that sees us lift our first European trophy since 1984 as Dave Guzman celebrates again. This club has been on an incredible journey on and off the pitch since we last won silverware in the League Cup in 2008, establishing ourselves as one of the biggest in Europe, moving into a new stadium and experience some incredible moments. We knew a trophy was just the missing piece. We've come so close on a number of occasions, never quite got over the line, and I've never wavered from the belief that success is just around the corner. I'd like to thank Ange and the players for making this incredible achievement possible, and thank to all our amazing staff. There is so much hard work that goes on behind the scenes. This moment is for everyone to enjoy. I also like to thank you, the fans, for staying with us and carrying that same belief. I know it's been hard at times, and I will have shared in that pain, frustration along the way. But when we all come together, we knew we can achieve something special. Yes, the support, wherever that was being about, in a round stadium or in the pubs or homes around the world, was the driving force behind our team. This is one trophy. Our clear ambition as a club has always been long-term sustained success, competing for top honours every year We have now tasted success. We are now determined to use this as a springboard for more. Let us enjoy this moment as a club together. Finish the season strong with a win today. Go on next year. And most of all, be proud. Come on, you Spurs. Daniel with a bigger exclamation mark at the bottom of it. I'm buzzing. I'm big up to Daniel Levy. I love him now.
What I will say is, I think he needs to look up the dictionary in the terms of what sustained success means.
Yeah, I did think that.
2 trophies in 24 years is definitely not sustained success. That's one every 12 years. I think he needs to learn the definition of that. So, Dermo, you're fully behind Ange now moving into next season. The thing is, do you think, because at the end of the day, right, this squad as is isn't good enough to go into next season
it's not.
On multiple fronts. Do you think Levy's going to give him the backing for the type of players that he needs, but that Tottenham Hotspur need in general? I'm talking the likes of Eze's and players like that, where it is going to cost him a pretty buck.
I think he has to back. Look, on Ange, firstly, I may have lost faith, but I never lost hope in Ange.
Do you think fans will forgive him, though, Darmo? Because the Year Cup at Chelsea, some of the other interactions, is the Europa League trophy that sort of apology to fans, for forgiveness? Or do you think they'll overlook that?
I think that E-Cup was overhyped by Sky TV, by the way. I don't think he was. I genuinely do believe him. He wanted to hear our fans cheer. I do believe that. I think that was Sky TV making more out of it than what it was. It was a storm in the teacup. Look, there's been this year where he's bite back at fans, but don't forget, he's been under loads of pressure as well with injuries within the club. Results don't go right. He's been under so much pressure. So he does bite. You will bite back. Anyone would bite back if you're under that amount of pressure. But I've never lost. I've maybe lost faith in Ange. Never lost hope that he would take us to promised land, and he has taken us there, and he will take us there again. He will get it right. Ange, look, there's going to be fans that want Ange out no matter what, and that's down to them. They support the club how they want to support it. It's their opinion. For me, you stick with Ange Postecoglou. You go in the summer. You get the players like Eze, Getty from Crystal Palace. You get Jonathan David, Gomez in on free transfers. I'm hearing the rumor, and it's a very strong rumor, and this is just a rumor, that Lukas Modric could be coming back on a 1-year deal. Now, it could be a load of pie in the sky, or it could be true. But if that does happen, think what that does to our midfield. Think what that does, that experience. And he needs to buy experienced players in. That is for sure. No more kids, buy experience. Even Mrs. Tron is so happy Tottenham won. She had to pinch me to actually make sure it's real. Dave, I just got to go off for a quick minute.
Sorry, no problem. Drew, you shaking your head when I asked that last question to Dermo about, forgiveness from the fans? Or were you just doing something in the background? I'm not sure. How do you feel?
I think I've been doing something in the background. Some good.
Do you think fans will forgive some of that? Because I think that is maybe some fans that still have it out for Andrew. I think that is one thing.
Oh, do you know what? I think I might have been shaking my head at some of that. Do you know what? This whole fan interaction thing and this whole him giving it back, I just felt like so much was made out of that just was pointless and irrelevant and unnecessary. And I just think, I don't know, people were angry at the time and they were using that as something to project their anger at. Like, I've never seen the issue with it. There was that one doing the rounds at Fulham where they were trying to goad the guy into something, and he basically just turned around and asked the kid where his parents were. Like, I'm sorry, is that really a reason to throw shade at this guy? Like, I don't get it. I never have got it.
It was the Year Cup at Chelsea, and then us not wanting Arsenal to win the league last year, and willing to throw the game against City.
Yeah, I was totally against that anyway. I'm on record last year as saying that we need to worry about ourselves as a club and not what's going on down the road, because there's going to be times in life where your biggest enemies are going to get wins regardless of whether you win or lose. So you just got to get on with it. I was completely with him.
Do you know what I will say, though? I think it's absolutely cold that a manager at Tottenham Hotspur says, I always win something in my second season, and then actually delivers on it. I mean, that's absolutely cold. That should be made into a T-shirt. Daniel Levy, I'm giving you ideas now. That should be made into a T-shirt. Oh, absolutely unbelievable. But look, it'd be interesting to see what sort of club the decision make on that, it does look like to me that I think it is going to be the same heading into next season. I think Ange Postecoglou will stay.
Yeah, I mean, if you think, regardless of what happens, the squad isn't quite strong enough. It needs some experience reinforcement.
Yeah,
and I just don't. Like I said, I think what would have happened if United had binned off Ferguson after the FA Cup in his third season?
Yeah.
Because it took him 3 seasons to win anything, and they finished 11th, 2nd, and 11th. Like, what happens if Klopp gets binned off after the Champions League? They don't win a league.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to give the opportunity for something to be built, because I think if we dismantle it now, you've dismantled it before you've given a chance to see it come to fruition. And I genuinely, hand on heart, believe that if we hadn't had the amount of injuries that we'd had this year, I think there's every chance we win a cup and qualify for Europa League or Champions League regardless. I really do. Like, if, people forget that, and I'm sorry to keep saying that, people forget, and that's not aimed at anybody, but I've been in WhatsApp groups this weekend, and it just gets a bit frustrating. Like, people seem to forget that we had a back four of Kinski, Danzo, Gray. I don't even think Udogie was there at that point. I think it was Spence and Porro. And I think I worked it out that they played, like the equivalent of about 300-400 minutes together at some point. And can you imagine the difference if we'd have not had those injuries? We'd have been able to have played Vicario, Van der Ven, and Romero, because you know what difference that makes. Just those three, and even to a lesser extent Vicario, but just having that Rolls Royce and that hitman at the back, I'm beginning to appreciate them more and more. And it's not just them, because you just kind of get you get this guy over here, Alderweireld and Vertonghen vibes. I'm starting to get those kind of vibes, man. And you can't tell me we wouldn't have been in a better position had we not had them guys for 38 games.
And also, sorry, Dave.
Well,
Also on that, Drew, what you're saying about using Danso and Ben Davis and all them players, we've had to use them because he's had to prioritize the players when we used them. He had to keep the main players for the UEFA Cup. And also, there have been injuries. You can't be brought back Romero and Van der Ven early for the Chelsea game. That put them out even further. You cannot blame him for injuries. And all this is his fault. It's his training methods. Injuries happen. Injuries do happen. It's football. It's a contact sport. Injuries will occur. It's how you build a squad to cope with them injuries. And we didn't cope. Nobody's blaming Munn or Lang for the woeful summer we've had. Nobody's blaming Lang or Munn for the woeful January we had. But they're blaming Ange because he's the vocal point. He's the face. But people should be blaming Levy and Lang and Munn for not backing the manager.
Isn't this whole reason why Ange is still in the job and end up getting into position to be able to get us over the line? Because he's come out and he's said in the press, he's openly said, everything's my fault. I take responsibility for absolutely everything. And
dude, you've been harping on about that for weeks, and I think I don't even think I truly understood the depth of which this guy is prepared to take pelters on behalf of absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
Like, he has put himself on the firing line again and again and again for the players, for Levy, for Munn, for absolutely everybody.
That's the
thing, I have so much respect for him doing that. And in a perfect world with the injuries, if we'd have had half the injuries we had, we'd have been able to have drip fed players in to the system, and they would have been more aware of how to play the system. Do you know what I mean? In a perfect world, you play your starters for 70, 80 minutes, and then you suddenly, you take that piece out, you put that piece in, and that piece goes, oh yeah, I get how we're playing now. And then all of a sudden, when you do get an injury, you put that player in, and he goes, okay, well, I know what I'm doing. We didn't have that luxury. We bought Danzo, threw him into a back four that was already decimated, and said, "There you go, mate. Help us out, would you?" And that was, that was him doing his best, and that was Ange dealing with the issues the best way he knew how.
Look, like I was saying, he's took the heat for absolutely everything this season, and for large parts of this season, it's being used as a stick to beat him with. He said he signed all the players, he said he's done this, he said he's done that. Buck Stutz with him. But whilst he was also doing that, in terms of taking the flak for everything that was going on at the football club, in the same breath, he was also coming out batting against the narrative of the football club. The way we're perceived in the media, how easy we are to take the piss out of and stuff like that. So, he's defended the club on all fronts this season. It's absolutely unbelievable. Not many managers can do that. When the pressure got put on Conte, he quit. He tapped out. He couldn't handle it. He almost dissolved himself of any blame. Whereas Postecoglou said, "No, I'll take it." And what I actually done is, heading into the final, no one was talking about the weight of the 17-year drought on the Tottenham players like they were under Pochettino all the time. Right. And stuff like that. The Spursy tag. No one was talking about it. All talking about Postecoglou. And what I actually done is took all the pressure off the players and allowed them to thrive on the occasion and go and get over the line. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think there's an absolute lot to be said for that. And now that he's done that, hopefully now going into next season, that they're all together again, which they will be, because the amount of players that have come out and said, he's took all the heat off them. They haven't felt the pressure because he's took it all. They're going to try for him even harder next season. And now that we've got the weight of success off our shoulders, now when we go into finals again in the future, we're going to expect to win it. And I think that's absolutely massive. And there shows a mentality shift at the football club. And that is something that he said from the very beginning he was going to try and change. Now, look, you can question the methods on how he's gone about trying to change that. But at the end of the day, I think he's garnered so much respect inside the club for the amount of weight he's took on his shoulders in these press conferences. Because even with Conte at times, he was like, "Look, I'm not used to this. In Italy, they roll out the director of football, they roll out this guy, they answer these questions." Right. He didn't even want to answer them, whereas Postecoglou just navigated it, took the pressure off everybody, and look at it now. But look, going into next season, I think one thing that no one's talking about is what way will Ange approach it in terms of what way he wants to play. Is he going to stick to this sort of rigid way that got us to the final from Frankfurt onwards, or is he going to try and go back to Ange ball? Because I think the reason why he's pivoted is because I think it's a clear indication that the squad isn't good enough to play the way he actually really wants to play. So I think it'd be very interesting to see what way they approach going into next season. Are they going to bring in more players that set us up defensively solid and more rigid, or are they going to bring in better quality players in terms of technical ability and stuff like that, so that we can get back to playing the way Ange wants to play? It's going to be a fascinating thing, see how that sort of plays out.
I think there is a happy medium to play in. There is a happy medium in there somewhere. If he can. There's times, and you've seen it with other teams, I think there's times where you can play a double pivot at the base, and then there are times beginning of the season you can almost play like an offensive double pivot with Maddison and Kulusevski if you only need one at the back. And if you get somebody, I don't know if it's going to be a monster six on the cards or whether they're going to try and persevere with Basuma. I mean, it's just so many things that could happen.
But you know what?
But yeah, I think there's a way of playing those two styles. There's a way of merging them together.
I think one thing that he's probably actually recognised on this Europa League run is at home he can play the way he wants to, But I think away from home he's realised he's going to have to be a bit more rigid, shore it up a little bit more, because away from home it's a lot more difficult. It just is for teams in general. It doesn't really matter who you are. You do have to set up a little bit differently, and hopefully he's learned that along this run. But look, let's take a couple more comments, and then we'll move on and let you talk about Golden Bollocks, Brennan Johnson. When the Spurs go marching in, big up Paul, member for 21 months. Thanks for all the great work you do. For me now, I can say he is willing to change his tactics. He just needs to start the Europa from... take the Europa form into the league. Consistency is key for me. Come on, you Spurs, European champions. And that's exactly it. Look, he may have got a little bit of a pass to a certain degree this season. He's not going to get that next season. He has to demonstrate he can compete on all four fronts. And look, you know what? Hopefully we've taught him a thing or two along the way as well. That, being in the Premier League is a little bit different to being at Scotland. You do have to be a bit more tactical, flexibility, show a bit more flexibility in your tactics, rotate maybe a little bit more than what he did at Celtic and stuff like that. And hopefully he's learned that along the way, because if he has picked up them lessons, the next season could be another amazing season again, and we could kick it off by potentially winning the European Super Cup, delivering a second trophy in another couple of months. Big up, Paul. But look, that is one thing he has to demonstrate next season, and that's still the big question mark around him. We've got Rain Man in the house. God, I missed you too, Dave. Turns out we were 5 meters away, but it was so buzzing around. May as well have been 5 miles. Brilliant day on Friday. Come on, you Spurs. And that's the thing, Rain Man. Like, you couldn't move. Your testament, you were there. You couldn't. If you wanted to meet someone that was literally just over there with the hands up waving at you, you couldn't get there. It was absolutely impossible. At one stage, I was standing there for like 3 hours. I wanted to roll up a cigarette and light it. I couldn't even get my arm up to light it, man. It was absolutely ram-packed. But it was an absolute fantastic day. And what I love about it, it shows how big of a football club we are. It's a reminder to absolutely every fucking Tottenham fan out there. We are a massive club. Let's adapt our mentality and let's start acting like we are a huge football club. Big up, Ray, man. Good to see you. DJ AK finally got there. What a trip this guy's had to make today, by the way. Part of his train line was shut off. So he ended up having to get a bus and it's stopping off at every station and stuff like that. So you finally got there. Get up there, get a well-earned Stella into you. That's what you like to drink. And then enjoy the day. It's going to be one big carnival. Remember, send me over the footage. And I gave you a shout out at the start of the video as well. Big up DJ AK. Paul says, what's your opinion? We'll get to that, Paulie. And then we've got Rich Esmond says, very much in the minority, but I would get rid and use the current success to attract a great coach. It'll be another missed opportunity, in my opinion. And then we've got Derek Hutchinson. Okay, so we won the Europa League, but what about the shit he has served up in the league? Is that fair on the fans? Have spent their money watching a load of shite. And absolutely, I agree with you. It's not. And this is what I'm saying. They have to be so confident that they can deliver a decent enough squad for this guy, because he's not a great coach on the football pitch where he's there, making them better day in, day out. He's more of that sort of man manager, Mr. Motivator sort of guy, a bit like Harry Redknapp to a certain degree. That ilk, I'm not saying he's as good, but that sort of ilk of guy. So he is going to need a better caliber of player so that we can compete on all four fronts. And that's where my big question mark comes in. Are they going to give him that to a large degree? I hope they do, Derek Hutchinson. But I agree with you. There is going to be a lot of fans pissed off the money. Look, I was pissed off going to the Palace game and the money I spent on that. And that's like a Category C game. It's one of the cheapest tickets you can get, to be fair. And I was pissed off paying that, getting over there and being served up that shit. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie. Once we lifted that Europa League trophy, I didn't care. I look back on it, I'm like, do you know what? It's just a part of the journey. It's a roller coaster. It's never going to be ups and downs. I remember I text Ben the other night, Wednesday night. And because when we first hired Ange, he texted me. He's like, Dave, what are we in for? And I told him, I literally sent him a message. I said, Ben, strap in, get your seatbelt on. It's going to be a roller coaster. And that's exactly what this season has been. There's been some unbelievable highs and there's been some very, very lows. But at the end of the day, winning the European trophy makes it all worth it, all that sacrifice. And it's never, ever going to be easy. And our trophy at Tottenham to get over the line was never, ever going to be easy. It was always going to be a dogfight. It was always going to be trying to claw inch, blade by blade, getting yourself a line. It was always going to be like that. Now what we want to see is, can we go out, play good football, win games with a lot more ease, and start competing across multiple competitions? Hopefully, I would argue you give him better players. I think he can definitely provide that, Derek Hutchinson. But good to see you, but I definitely think there's merit to your point there. Guys, now's the time. Let's rip off the Band-Aid. I've held you back long enough. I know Dermot's probably getting a stiffy there thinking about it. But look, Brennan Johnson is another person that's come in for a lot of criticism this season. I hold my hands up. I've been one of them. I do maintain I still think there's areas he needs to improve to really kick on and become, a top quality player. However, I am going to get off his back now. I'm going to give him next season to cook. Let's see if he can develop and stuff like that. I'm going to stop putting him under a lot of pressure. But how much credit does that kid deserve? Because, like I said, he's come in for a lot of scrutiny around him. And look, sometimes he's antagonized fans by shushing them and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he fucking delivered in a Europa League final. I mean, and I've always said, Do something like that, and you shut people like me up. So, guys, you've been saying it to me all along. Dave, get on board. He's a good player. Stuff like that. I mean, so I'm going to let you, whatever way you want to dish it up there, you can embrace each other, have a jerk circle, whatever you want to do, work away.
I don't know how to respond to the last one. But anyway, we'll move on. Look, for me, I just want to say I told you so. I told you on Wednesday he would turn up and score the winner. And I am so glad he did. And my first thought when he scored that winner was, I bet you Drew's jumping around like mad. And I bet you Dave Harris is going off his head.
You know when he scored, Dermo?
Yeah.
You know when he scored? The first thing that came back to me before I thought of you and Drew was exactly my line. When I think it was one of you said, he's going to score the winner today. And I was like, well, hopefully not the winning goal. That was the first thing. And then as soon as he scored, I knew we were going to get over the line 1-0. I just knew it.
I just think Johnson deserves a hell of a lot of credit. He's not the finished article, and he's nowhere near the finished article. He's only 23. So there's more to improve from him. And football develop at different speeds, different rates, different times, and he will develop. Believe me, he will develop, and he will become. And look, it's a art in itself to be in that position in the right time in the right space to knock them balls in. Yeah. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's a skill. Yeah,
it is a skill. Great. Jimmy Greaves did that brilliantly. Gerd Muller, Gary Lineker, all great strikers that are with the 6-yard box in there at the right time. You put the ball in there, he will get in there and he will put it in the back of the net. He's proved that time again and again and again this season. And look, and I get it, fans criticizing him. I get it. His work rate's not great. But by God, when he's up there and puts the ball in the back of the net, especially on Wednesday, that just shushed
He gave me the greatest moment of my life. I've got a little soft spot for him now. Do you know what softened me up even more? What? I think you could see the release of the weight that people like me have put on him to a certain degree up on the celebration podium. Like they're trying to get him off. They're trying to protect the trophy. And he's there hoisting that out over the edge. They're trying to get him off. Then he's coming back. The fans are going, Johnson again, and he's coming back. Hey! And everything else. It softened me up a little bit more. It's like, I like seeing that side of a player. It's a bit of character,
It is. I do know what, Dave, because I like you and I've done it. I will let you on the Johnson train now. You're on the train. We'll let you in. Okay, but I
told you, Johnson already forgave me.
I want apologies for everyone who said in the chat to me this season, Dermot's talking shite. Apologies now will be accepted. The apology window is now open, so please send in your apologies. And I was right all the way along. I said he would score the winner. I did. I feel like going into my Muhammad Ali mode after he beat George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, going, I told you he'd be the greatest. I told you. And Johnson will become a legend at the club. He already is a legend.
Well, he's already gone down folklore now.
Yeah, he will be a legend. Johnson will become a legend. And I tell you one thing, he gets his game spot on. He will grow. By the time he leaves Tottenham, he will be remembered as the man who scored the winning goal to win us our first trophy in 17 years. He is a fucking legend. He always has been. He always will be. Get behind the Johnson. Happy birthday on Friday for him, by the way. And let's enjoy your summer. Work hard in pre-season. Come back and prove everyone wrong again, because I know you can, man. You can do it. You're my man.
Again, ole, ole. I mean, Drew, look, I expected Dermot to be sitting there gloating, and he's asking for the apologies. None have come in yet, Dermot, so I don't think.
I've got time. I've got time. There's the whole summer to go yet. There's a whole summer.
I would just like to point out that you talking about Brennan Johnson and you generally talking bollocks are they can run parallel with each other, because I have still heard you talk bollocks.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm standing
that number 10. That number 10 quote, I'll never forgive Dermot for that, saying play Johnson in a number 10.
I'm sorry, I'd stand by that. He can.
No, I'll never forgive you for that. Honestly, I was half asleep that day, and you woke me up. I was never so alert in such quick time in my life. It's unbelievable.
Well,
but
you said he wouldn't score winner in the cup final, and he did in the Europa League
look,
final.
exactly.
So he can prove you wrong.
Look,
do you know what? I'm not even giving him that goal. I still think it was an own goal. I've watched it about 35 times, and I still can't see the touch. I still haven't seen the touch.
Do not take this away from me. It's his goal. Do not take this
Drew
away.
Also deserves a lot of credit. Drew's also been sitting here all season long, battering the Johnson narrative, nearly almost every pre-match build-up. You know, myself, Jack, we've had our own views, but when we've let Drew have his views, a lot of people in the chat, you're deluded. He's never going to be this. He's never going to be that. Well, you're vindicated, Drewski, as well as Dermo.
I mean,
you've always stuck by him. In fairness, you've always stuck. Dermo has got off the train once or twice along the road. I'll give you proof, but you have stuck by him 100%, Drew.
I felt bad for the guy. Everyone else giving him so many fucking pelters that I just thought to myself, do you know what? Let's give this kid a break. But just if you put, everyone is nowadays just so quick to make it or have an opinion or just look at somebody and just.
Was that because we were looking for that instant? Anyone that was coming in, we were expecting to deliver that instant success. Do you think now, moving forward, now that we've got that sort of monkey off our back, do you think we will give anyone coming into the club that little bit more time to sort of work it out because we're not so aggro about,
Yeah, maybe. I think being a Tottenham supporter the last couple of years to a man, woman, and child has been so stressful.
Yeah,
we're just so.
It's almost felt like a full-time job, lad.
Oh, it's been awful. And you're talking to somebody who gets up at 4:30 in the morning to watch some of this dross. Do you know what I mean? I've never witnessed such an awful, especially 18 months. But I still think we're Tottenham fans and we still ultimately want what's best for our club. So if somebody comes along and doesn't immediately show us that they're here to put a shift in, then I think it's incumbent upon us to give them some shit. But I also think you have to give context to things. And with Johnson, you take into consideration where he's come from, the fact that he arrived with an injury, never really got a pre-season, never quite got going last year and still had some all right numbers. We're all very aware of his misgivings or his shortcomings, but he then gets better this year. But I think the problem is that we have been so, like I said, the he's gotten better. That's coincided with the team generally as arguably getting worse.
Yeah.
The fan base getting more angry. Yeah. So it's all kind of understandable. You need a release somewhere. Yeah. And there have been times this season because I think I've been pretty when I've wanted to praise him, when I think he's deserved praise, I've given him praise. But I think I've also been pretty fair in giving him a rocket and saying, look, that dude just needs to do more. He needs to work harder. And then you add to that the fact that he had the injury, missed sort of 7 or 8 games, took maybe a couple of games longer to really, really come back. I think if you're going to start to get the Johnson who was in that final, and he's going to start to put it out more on the field and just leave everything out there. He's going to be 24, I think, this year, or maybe even 25. So I think... I think you're just starting to see, Dermot touched on it earlier, players mature and players get better or worse at different points in their career. And if it maybe took him another year, 18 months to get to where we wanted him to be, then, that's what it takes. But he still needs to improve. This can't be it. We can't see regression or a stagnation. He needs to practice, he needs to practice crossing in the summer. He needs to needs to get a couple more assists. But if he can get, I think, what is he, 20, 24 or 26 GA this year? If he can crack 30, 32, 35,
he goes into a different level.
Yeah,
you know how he
cracks
that, though? Do you know how he cracks that? Adding more assists to his game. He adds more assists to his game. He's cracking that easy. So,
absolutely.
Look, to your point, maybe we are seeing slow progression, and maybe because of I'm looking at games and I'm looking at going, he's not doing enough and stuff like that. But it wasn't just him. There's a lot of other players also not doing enough and stuff like that. Maybe I have been a bit guilty about putting a lot of it on him. But I do think some of my concerns about him, providing what a winger provides and stuff like that, working hard, which in fairness, he ran his absolute bollocks off in that final. And you pointed out, I give him credit in the build-up to it, that in recent weeks, that was something we were starting to see slowly being incorporated into his game. And I do think that maybe there's been a part where he's also learned along the way where it's like, no, I do need to add these things to my game if I want to become better. So, look, hopefully now that he's delivered that winning goal, hopefully it inspires him to get hungry, because players like that, once you win, you always want the next one to come. All of a sudden, you start focusing on how can I be better? How can I make sure I'm in the best place to be on the pitch? Because I want that feeling again. And I think someone like Johnson hopefully can benefit from that and start maybe not going to the darts events, taking a step back from them, working on his game and just making sure he's a better player next season. Because now that he's delivering in the Europa League final, that expectation is going to be even more so on him next season to be that guy now next season. Now that he's stepped up and he's proved to everyone he is a guy you can rely on the big occasion. People are going to look at him like they do, like they have at Sonny in years gone by, the big occasion. What are you going to do? So he does have to improve to be able to meet those standards. But I think there's been a recognition on his side as well. So hopefully we see a better player moving forward. Sports lover, I'm just going to touch on this quickly and then I'm going to take a moment to plug our brilliant sponsorship along the way who have helped us win the Europa League. The journey wouldn't have been possible without them, or the journey to the parade wouldn't have been possible without them. So we are going to plug them. But I just want to take this quickly. Sports lover says Ange can improve tactically every match, but I feel he will now, after winning, installing his beliefs into a squad of young players. And you know what? I've seen a post from Matty Hayes and he sort of referenced Bergvall just standing there and taking it all in. And it got me thinking, this is when he was on the podium outside the Tottenham Stadium. And it sort of got me thinking, I'm looking at the likes of Papa Matasar, Archie Gray, Bergvall, Mikey Moore was already fully coised. But you've got a group of young players there now. Yeah. The Doggies, Van de Vens, that are now fully coised. They will love this club. They will go out and fight for this club and fight for this badge because of the moment that's given them. It's also given them the best moment of their life over a lot of their careers. So now you're going to see them fight a lot more. Throughout the years. When I was standing there, they were rolling out the likes of, your Sandros and players like that. Cult hero, man. The fans were going crazy for the guy. And I think you're going to see that with some of these guys now. Now that they've delivered, they're always going to have one eye out for the football club. Even if they move on to other things, they're always going to protect this football club. I'm back for it. And I think that's amazing. And also, I think for some of them older players now, hopefully they get the taste for success. Hopefully that leadership now starts growing within the camp. People start taking more responsibility. Right, guys, let's gear up. We want to go for this trophy. We want to go for this one. This is how we do it. Everyone stick to the plan. Keep people in line. Stuff like that. But I think what we will see next season is when the going gets tough, a lot of these players standing up a lot more in the moments rather than crumble like we've seen at times this season. So that will be a good thing going forward, sports lover. Hopefully people actually understand what I mean by that. I probably haven't expressed it.
Ange mentioned it. Yeah, Ange mentioned it about the bond now. You can play on a team and you can play together and you can win a few matches together. But you winning a title like that and coming together, that's almost like Goonie vibes. Do you know what I mean? You're always going to be a Goonie. So
it's unbelievable. Honestly, it's absolutely unbelievable. I think
Ange is getting fully coised now as well, Dave. I think Ange has started to become coy. Like if you and I say that based on how he's portrayed himself at other clubs before. I think he's getting close, and I think he even mentioned it. He's getting closer to these players. I think he maybe even touched on it because he didn't want to, do down what he's done in the past. But I think he sort of said that this is arguably, one of the ones that means the most. I think he's fully coised.
Do you know what? I think seeing that parade, hearing the hundreds of thousands of fans singing his song and stuff like that, I think, maybe there was a bit where he maybe didn't understand us, but I think looking at the adulation and, what he's done and stuff, I think, there will be a soft spot for us in his heart now. But guys, I want to take this moment to plug NordVPN. I know the lineups is out, but we will get to them in just a moment. But NordVPN have been by our side for the majority of this season, guys. And basically what they're here to do is offer you guys a chance to be able to own a VPN. And in the modern day world, with the amount of technology, I think everyone should have a NordVPN in their back pocket. Basically, what allows you to do is just basically surf the web, go around. If there's live sporting occasions on in other countries that you can't access, it allows you to access them. It basically changes your IP address, your location, bounce yourself to them countries, allows you to sign in and be able to get them. It helps you save money. You can save money on flights, hotels, and stuff like that. It basically allows you to surf web and get offers that may be not available in your region. But not only that, it also helps protect you while you're online. And I think that's absolutely important nowadays. The amount of everywhere you go on a bus now, it gives you Wi-Fi. Train, it gives you Wi-Fi. You can buy cars now where you can get Wi-Fi in it and stuff. And you're all on public forums. And having a NordVPN, it helps protect you from people. It helps protect you, gives you security while you're online on these public Wi-Fis, and also protects all your bank details and stuff like that. And that's the key part of it. And for having that security, it's only for the price of a cup of coffee a month. It'll be the best cup of coffee you've ever spent. So make sure you get across to NordVPN, get our exclusive deal with the code FLATCAP. There's a 2-year plan there, and there's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. I would also encourage, there are other offers out there, shorter-term options. If any of you are thinking about just wanting to even try it, I think once you try it, I think you realize the benefit of it, and I think then you will end up wanting one long-term. Also, it helps if we are accessing streams and stuff like that. It helps the buffering situation, because a lot of them, the Premier League have people out there trying to disturb all these streams, which makes it harder for you to watch. Having a NordVPN helps combat all that sort of stuff. So if that sounds like your thing, go and get the NordVPN. And not only that, will you be helping them out, you'll be also helping us out a great deal, and hopefully be able to continue this partnership going into next season. But I want to say a massive thank you to NordVPN for being on board with us this season. It has really helped us out so much. So big up NordVPN on that. Oh, but Dermo, the lineup is out. Let's get into it. And then I do want to find out maybe off the panel sort of what are we expecting today, from this lineup on the football pitch. But we have Cario in goals, Pedro Porro at right back, Danzo and Van de Ven at centre back, Destiny Udogie at left back, Bentancur, Gray and Sarr in the midfield. The European Cup hero on the right-hand side, that is Brenaldo, John Saldinho. Then we've also got Dominic Solanke up front. And then we have Mattel off the left-hand side. Mattel is an interesting one, guys. Let's just quickly have a quick say on him. It's his last game, or potentially could be his last game for Tottenham Hotspur. There is a 65 million option there if we want to bring him in. Now, I will urge that I think potentially we can get that down. They still owe us money for Harry Kane. That's why they ended up taking 10 million off what they owe us for the loan fee. So I'd argue Spurs could probably get that down to around 40, 35 million if they really, really wanted him and to push it. Has he done enough for you guys to say we should go out and sign him this summer? We'll start with you on this one, Darmo. Guys in the chat, I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts at home as well. Would you take the option to sign Mattel?
I would take him for another loan. I wouldn't buy him, but I'd take him for another loan with an option to buy at the end of that season. Give him a full season in the Premier League and let's see what he can do. There's no doubt he's got talent. There's no doubt. I love the way he can come on. I think I said it on your channel, Drew, on Friday, where he came on against Liverpool in the semi-final and really was rollicking everyone. And I love it when he plays. He's always doing this to the crowd and he's doing this to the players. So, yeah, I would take him on another loan. I know Saz30 says that wants him permanently. But look, I think he's a talent. I think Tell's got an awful lot to do. And I do believe he can become a good player. But for me, a loan and then with an option to buy at the end of that season. That's my my preference on it.
Do you know what? I didn't even consider that. I actually think, that wouldn't be a bad approach going about it, rather than committing to him right now. Maybe bring him in and see if he kicks on again next year. But I wonder with the players, he may be looking for a permanent home rather than, again, having to go out on loan. But do you know what? I think a lot of people probably agree with you on that one. I mean, Drewski, where are you on him, my man?
I'm exactly the same. I'd do it for another loan, 25, 30 million. I mean, I guess it depends on, that may be a lowballing it a little bit if he absolutely cracks on. But yeah, I mean, I would certainly want another season where we haven't had to wait 3 or 4 months for him to kind of reach. Because we knew it was going to see, same with Bergvall when he first started at the beginning of the year or beginning of last season, or this season rather. They said it was going to take 6 to 8 months, and now we're finally seeing it. What I don't want with Tell is for us to give him 6 to 8 months in his legs because then we, if he just goes back to Bayern, then we haven't really benefited. Yeah. So I would like to, I'd like to see at least. Or, I mean, if we don't, then it will have to be because the powers that be have decided that this is actually genuinely the springboard, and they decide to go out and actually lay down some money on somebody a bit more ready-made.
That's where I'm with. That's where I'm with Rich here. He says Tell isn't a good player. Look, I don't think he's a bad player. I think there's genuinely a lot of raw talent there that the right manager could really develop him into something. I do believe that. But I do think that sort of money, I think right now, if we're serious about kicking on and trying to sustain success, I think that money is best served putting towards a ready-made player. That's where I am with that, Rich. As I definitely.
Well, let's face it. If we were genuinely serious, there's an argument that you do both, right? Because you do still need to plan for the future. And him being 19, I mean, you could still go out and get somebody established, 26, 27 years old, and you could still get a 19-year-old in. And I think they're far enough removed age-wise that you're not really blocking a pathway, per se. Do you know what I mean? Because you're still able to, because Sonny is, let's face it, Sonny's on his way out. So you're not going to tell me that Tell is Sonny's replacement. You've got to get somebody that is, as I say, equal to Sonny. You've got to get somebody that's up there, right? Otherwise, we're going to lose 2 talismans in 3 seasons.
Well, I think a big part of us trying to be able to be better next season is drastically improving that front line, bringing a lot more output to it, a lot more consistency to it. And I think, when I look at Matisse Tell and I compare him to Mikey Moore, is he any better than Mikey Moore? I'd argue I've seen more output from Mikey Moore and signs of Mikey Moore, being more ready now than maybe Matisse Tell. And I just think, signing Matisse Tell probably blocks up the Mikey Moore pathway. For me, I would actually just keep Mikey Moore and do what you're saying. Go out there and sign a more established left winger. But I want to take a couple more comments.
I don't think Mikey Moore is ready. I don't think you can put that much on a 17-year-old. Even if he's ready technically and skill-wise, his body's not ready. He's not going to do 40 games a season. It's just
I'm not saying put the pressure on to do 40 games a season. But what I mean is you go out and sign a more established left winger. He takes up most of the slack. You've got Son, and then you also got Mikey Moore there. So, you keep him developing, and then you dip him in and out. I think, but I think that would, even if you sign Matisse Tell, he's still going to start on the bench most weeks. So for me, I'd rather put Mikey Moore than someone like Matisse Tell. But we'll take a couple more comments here, and then I want to ask Dermo what the score prediction and what performance we expect, and we need to let him go for his show. We've got Future's Bright, Future Lily White says, come on, you Spurs. He says, can't believe the flip-flopping I'm seeing. But it's a game of opinions, and that's a beautiful thing. But for me, he would have been the worst manager forever if we hadn't won the Europa League. But I don't care anymore. No, look, 100% he would have been. But I've also said, many also said in the build-up to the final, if he wins, he'd be the most successful manager at Tottenham in 41 years. And at the end of the day, he got over the line. So we can sit here and say if, buts, and maybes, but he delivered. So he's now technically the most successful manager in 41 years at Tottenham Hotspur. But I would also argue the flip-flop started after the Frankfurt win. Most people that said this guy is shit, useless, ain't good enough, tactically naive, etc., will never win us anything, and that anyone that thinks he will is deluded. The flip-flop started. All of a sudden, we get through Frankfurt away. Everyone comes out with videos. We're going to win the Europa League. That's when the real flip-flop started. You're flip-flopping from a guy that's technically not good enough to all of a sudden now he is good enough. He's going to get over the line. That's when the real flip-flop started. Look, I've always maintained, I've always said, many people, and I've said this to many people that were berating me in my own comment section here, and I've always said, you win the Europa League, you are going to feel so much different. I've always maintained that. And that's what you're seeing right now. And at the end of the day, when a manager says, I was winning my second season and he delivers, I think that's where you buy a lot of buy-in from people. And look, obviously, delivering a trophy, I think a lot of people will ignore what's sort of gone on in the league this year, rightly or wrongly so, probably wrongly so. I still think there has to be honest conversations around can Ange deliver and sustain multiple competitions, we have to have them honest conversations. But the reality is, I think a lot more people are more willing to give him the opportunity than maybe before he delivered. But I'd argue that's when the flip-flop started, to be honest, because I hear that now. Everyone's coming out, so many people flip-flopping. Okay, but what about you flip-flopping after we beat Frankfurt, saying now we're going to win a Europa League? People forget that. I'm clued in. We've got Dave Quinn says, anyone know the channel for Spurs? So if someone knows what channel the game is on today, please let them know. We've got
Depends which part of the world he's in. Where is he in the world?
Where are you in the world, Dave Quinn? Let us know. Big up, Nige. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well, buddy. We fucking finally done it, Nige. We done it, Nige. Big up, my man. AK Shake says, Dave, should we bring Timo Werner back next year? Look, I'm on vibes. I'm enjoying myself, but I haven't got that carried away, AK Shake. So I'm still living in some sort of reality right now, my man. We've got Shawnee Maddox. What players do you think Ange was talking about for guys that party too hard and might not be available? Ange kind of mentioned Johnson in the embargo. Yeah, but I think maybe he's put Johnson out there as a bit of a punishment, or maybe just to get the applause, that maybe he deserves, and get the fans singing his name and stuff like that. I think it's clear when you look at it. Basuma is one of them. He's not in the lineup. I think Romero is probably another one. And ironically, I remember turning around to DJ AK was beside me. The two of them were on the back of the bus, absolutely living it up. And I could kind of see it coming. I think actually DJ AK said to me they probably won't play Sunday. So you could kind of see that coming. So I think that's who he's probably getting at. Maybe Sonny as well, as you can see. I think he even let out a swear word. I mean, I've never heard that guy cuss in my life. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, I think they're the players that are the ones that aren't in the lineup today, Shawnee, are the ones I think he's referring to, my man. Big up. And great to see you. And Shawnee, we fucking done it, my man. Look, we've had many backs and forths this season, but you know what? I wouldn't change it. I love you, my man. Big up, Shawnee. We've got Aussie, Cois. How is Johnson going to be able to see the ball? I mean, that's a big question. You're probably going to see so many airstrikes. How many players have played Sunday League? I remember we had a guy. He used to rock up every Sunday drunk, but he was like George Best. He used to be unbelievable, I remember one day he ended up going to kick this ball, and he ended up kicking fresh air. And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I just seen four of them, and I swiped that one of them. I think that's the case you're going to see with Brennan Johnson today. Big up, my man. We've got J-Mac. I remember folks were writing up Bergval. Give Tell an Udebur time. Look, I'm an Udebur fan. I like Udebur. I think give him time, he will turn into something brilliant. And Al Dante, member for 9 months. We won it in Bilbao. Come on, you Spurs. Thanks all. Big up, Al Dante. Good to see you. Shame Kulizeski wasn't fit enough for the final on that, Al Dante. But our boy's going to kick on next season. Really appreciate all the support this season. Big up, Al Dante. We finally done it. European fucking champions. Dermo, just quickly, I'm going to put your channel in there. Score prediction, and what sort of performance are you expecting from this team today?
I'm look, why end the season? I want to end the season as I started it on these pump-ups by saying 4-0. We're going to pump them today. We're going to go in there. Johnson's going to get a few. I think Solanke will get one and Tell will get one. But yeah, but thank you. Huh?
Goodbye present from Tell.
No. It's just to see you next season from Tell. But yeah, I think we're in for a good performance today. But yeah, 4-0 for me. But Dave, thank you for having me on all these pre-match pump-ups all season. I've loved doing them. I'm gonna miss doing them now. And hopefully next I am. I'm gonna miss them doing them in the summer. But hopefully by the start of August, we'll be back on it again. We'll be getting ready again for the season. And I'm sure each other over the summer, Dave, on some shows or up in Dublin somewhere. But thank you so much for everything you've done for me. And if you do like what I have to say, do go over to THF Till We Die. It is the only Tottenham delusional second Irish channel in YouTube. Aiming for Dave's crown. That is my aim. To take Dave's crown from his head, but I don't think that will ever happen. But you could always dream. But yeah, please go over. We would love to get to 2,100 by the end of today. We're sort of 50, guys, riding 50 away. Please.
Look, guys, there's over 600 people in the house watching. Look, whether you agree with Dermo or not, he's backed his boy Johnson. And he's always said from day one this season, we're winning the Europa League. So if you like that relentless hope, and that, someone that, keeps the belief all the way through the season, get across, smash the subscribe button, and let's get over there. Let's push him to his goal. He fucking deserves it. Big up, Dermo. You've been a pleasure to work with this season, my man. And we'll speak again very, very soon. I better let you go and get your show on, though. I've already kept you way too late.
Dave, Next season, let's fucking go again.
Let's
And,
have
Big up there, man.
yeah. And I'll tell you one thing, we'll have to do an Irish watch along this summer for the laugh. Just
oh yeah,
for
it'll be bearable now. Now,
Yeah.
but we're also winning with Republic of Ireland, so it's
yeah,
going to be
we
bearable.
are now. Yeah,
Football's great
Ireland
on-
to the World Cup. There you go. There we go. Two things happening. Dave, Drew, see you later. Dave-O,
Big
I'll
up,
give
mate.
you a bell tomorrow.
Take care.
See you later.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come
And
on,
big
you Spurs.
Dave, we trust.
Big up, Dermo. Guys, let's get 50 people across right now. The link's in the chat. Let's get across the Dermot's channel and hit that subscribe button. At the end of the day, we're European champions. Share the love. Guys, we've got this from Faz Radfarhan said he needs oven-ready players now. Give him 2. Absolutely spot on. I couldn't agree more. Look, that's been one of my big gripes this season. You know, yes, some of the youngster players have stepped up and delivered in moments this season, but in general, it's been a bit of a double-edged sword. You know, they probably performed a lot better than what most people thought, but at the end of the day, they haven't been good enough to pick up the slack when injuries have occurred to this team. But they're young players and they're developing nicely. Bring in some experience around them, you see them kick on even further. Big up Fazzy Radfire. Experienced players is an absolute must at this point. Straff and Joe, let's get in contact. I think you have my number, my man. Let's get in contact. Let's make it work, buddy. Big up, Straff, and it'd be great to see you, my man. It really would. Who else have we got here? El Dante's replied, says, if Kulusevski had played final, United could have got their flights home at halftime, Dave. That's the way I'd like to believe it would happen, El Dante. I think Kulusevski there, we probably would have caught them on the counter and put them to bed as well. Leighton Ireland end up losing. That's sad. Well, either way, Josh Keeley and Jamie Donnelly have had absolutely tremendous seasons. They've garnered a lot of attention. At the end of the day, you know, look, in years gone by, we've had highly talented players, and a lot of the low moves never worked out. These guys are bucking the trend. Them, Dorrington, the Vescoviches and stuff like that. Starting to get a lot of our, and I think it speaks to the quality of the players that I've thought we've always had in the academy that I've highlighted for the last couple of years with these guys, that these are going out there. They're really helping clubs. You know, they're performing at a good level consistently. And I think it speaks to the talent. And I would argue Jamie Donnelly is one we definitely need to have a look at next season. I would love to give him an opportunity in pre-season to see if he can step up and deliver. Aussie, Koi says, I think Romero is left out of the team as they didn't know where he is, possibly halfway to Budapest, thinking it's the way for Champions League final. Look, Romero was having a great time. But you know what? The amount of reels I've seen about this guy since the final, you know, going around shithousing Maguire all game long, getting in his head. Like, this is the shit that he brings, man, that we need at Tottenham. You know, we just need that sort of shithouse. If we let him go, we're going to have such a soft underbelly. You know, you're winding up players, taking them off the game, getting players out of the game nice and early while injuring them, having that rough shithouse at the back. But not only that, the guy can fucking play as well. Got to do everything we can to keep him. At the end of the day, his whole thing was he wanted to maybe leave to kick on and win trophies. Well, we've proven now we can do that at Tottenham Hotspur with you. So let's continue it, Ron Baum. Don't make me cry again. Harry Kane made me cry when he left. Don't do it to me, Ron Baum. I've even made up a song for you. I was hoping you were going to score in the final. I was going to unleash it. But it was, what's that song? Mr. Bombastic. It was Mr. Rombastic. That's what, you know, I've switched it up a little bit. I've made a song for you. So, Romero, please stay. Please stay. We need you in that back line. I spoke about it. It's not even just Romero. It's the partnership with Van de Ven. That's one that's going to blossom going forward. It's very hard to get a partnership together like that. You know, when I heard the quote straight away of Mickey Van de Ven, you know, I make him more calm. He makes me more aggressive. I felt like, oh, fuck's sake, guys, come here. Give them a big hug. You know, one big jerk and circle. It's music to my ears. It's absolutely unbelievable. And it shows the partnership. And, you know, I felt like I wanted to be in the middle of that sandwich, you know, when they said them words. So for me, we got to keep these guys together. We got to keep this partnership together, my man. Big up, Aussie. Drewski, let's get your thoughts on the lineup. And also, yeah, let's get your score prediction. We'll call it a day, my man.
It's quite an interesting lineup, isn't it?
Let's whoever's not throwing up this morning, right?
Yeah, basically. I was kind of surprised. I didn't think Johnson would be anywhere near the squad, but I guess he must sober up pretty quick. Yeah, I kind of like it. You know, I think they said that Romero would be out because he got a toe injury and Sonny's foot's still not quite right. So I didn't expect those two to play. It's nice to see Van de Ven playing 2 games in a week.
What a hero. Hang it in the Louvre. Nice. Hang it in the Louvre, Drew.
Yeah. Nice to see. I really hope they do. I feel like they're going to do sort of something similar again, innit? With Bentancur and Gray, maybe double pivot with Sarr in front of them, because Sarr was immense and in the final. He was immense.
Was it you or Soren that was pulling him out this season at one point? You or Soren?
I'm gonna say Soren just because he looks like me, and I think
Let me think.
definitely it was.
No,
it
you're
was
right.
definitely,
It was Soren. I need to have a chat with Soren about Soren. If you're listening, next time you're on, we're chatting about Papa Matasar, my man. He was unbelievable.
Big up Soren, my brother. Do you know what? I'm inclined to. There have been times where he's been a bit off it, but I completely forgot. I was about to go in on him a little bit a few weeks back, and I realised, I kind of came to my senses and realised, he's only 22, 23, and I think he did Ramadan. And I'm sitting here going, well, why haven't you got any energy? Well, you got this bloody Ramadan. Do you know what I mean? You got to respect these things. So I take my hat off to the kid, 22 years old. It would be unfair for me to criticise him and then not give the same sort of criticism to other people his age. So, it's been one of those seasons, man. We've made it to the end. These guys are all going to be better for it. So that's the way I choose to. That's the way that I choose to play it.
No, I agree with you. I think everyone would be better for winning the Europa League. All of a sudden, it make these players will feel like they should be standing tall. They'll be no longer then the defeats. They make you slouch, they make you hide away. They're not going to stand up tall, face everything. You're going to see a different. Maybe not today. I think today is the exception, but you're hoping going forward, whatever players do remain here this summer, you're going to see them, I think, kick on. All of a sudden they feel prestigious. I already feel like, I'm already making people call me Sir Dave European Champion. And if they don't, I hang up the phone, Drewski. No matter, imagine how these players feel. But Drewski, what sort of performance? I mean, look, we know the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric, right? It's going to be absolutely unbelievable today. But what performance are we expecting today? Honestly,
I don't know, but I think Brighton have been doing
lethargic, 6 or 11 men behind the ball and just try and see they navigate the game as best we can. Or do you think we're going to see a performance?
Look, here we go. Look, Angelo. See, the problem is, Angelo, if I'd have been talking like this, I'd have been Soren, but I'm Drew. Do you know what? I think, I don't know. Brighton have been flying. I don't know enough about Brighton's starting 11 to know if that's the starting 11 that's playing. I've got to say, I'm a little bit. It's probably shameful of me, but I don't really pay too much attention to other teams.
Coming into this kid, no, I bet you no one's read any preview articles or anything like that.
I ain't got a clue.
I haven't even had time. Jacko put this together. A couple of questions for me together late last night. He's been off.
Right.
Doing his thing. I've been off doing my thing. We just haven't had time. I'm coming into this blind as anybody.
I don't know. I'll tell you what though, Dave, real quick before we go, I did want to ask what you thought realistically players in, players out was going to look like this summer just in terms of numbers. Because I don't think there necessarily needs to be a huge upheaval. I would think 3 players out and 5 players in. You make up the 2 that we've got, because we've got a 2-player deficit anyway. I think we only registered a squad of 23. So I'd like to get that up to 25. And then maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I was just interested to see what you thought, maybe incomings and outgoings.
I'll bring the squad in quickly. We'll run through it quickly and then we will end off, because I do want to go and have a quick shit before we start the watch.
You're not a nervous one. You're not nervous.
No, I had a late night kebab last night, lad, when I got in. I was a man that was very, very hungry. I ended up having to I nearly missed my flight home at Stansted. I hopped on this wrong shuttle and I ended up down the far side of the airport, lad. And I had 10 minutes and I had to sprint. Fair play to this lady. She let me go through all these back ways that they're allowed to walk through, staff. And then I had to make a massive sprint. It turned out my flight was delayed, so it was all within vain anyway. I would have made my flight even if I dawdled across at that point. But just a lot of traveling. Then when I got there, because the flight was delayed, means I had to wait around another hour and a half for my bus, which meant then, so it was just a long day. So I ended up getting a late night kebab. So I need to go and drop that off, at the rubbish bin. But you're looking at the squad here. Can we see this on screen? Yeah. Yep, perfect. So looking at the squad here.
Reggie's gone.
Right? Reggie's gone. So that's one gone. Danzo will stay. Dragosin will stay. Young. Look, there's one year left.
I think he's going to stay.
We're going to have a talk about this. We'll get you on next week, Drew. We'll have to have a talk about Sonny, because there is only 1 year left on his contract. The club sort of only gave him an extension rather than negotiating with him. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not going to go back to the table now that there's maybe more cash available and maybe renegotiate. Well, I think it's a possibility, but that is one we have to keep an eye on.
Right.
Basuma is an interesting one. Potentially, I think we might see him sold and bring in an upgrade in the midfield.
Yeah.
But Charlison is another interesting one, although I think Ange Postecoglou really likes him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him stay, but I think if the right money comes in, I think he'll be shipped on. Madison will stay. Tell's future is unknown. Bergvall, Gray, Dogie, they're all staying. Werner's gone. Romero's gone. Or Romero hopefully stays on. Who else we got here? Forrester will be gone at the end of this season as well. So let me run through it. How many spaces are we freeing up? Reguilon's one.
Well, Reguilon's not actually registered in the squad, though, is he? So even though we're getting rid of him, that technically he's not in it anyway.
No, technically not. But he's still freeing up a space because he can still play in the Premier League. He's played some Premier League games this season, even though he wasn't registered.
Yeah.
So Reguilon will be one. One of either Basuma or Charlison will be gone. So that's two. Matisse Tell will be gone. We don't know whether he's coming back. So potentially that's three. Werner will be gone. That's four. Fraser Forrester will be gone. That's five. Ben Davies will be potentially gone. So that's six. So you're freeing up six. Alfie Whiteman as well. So that's seven. So in effect, you're actually sort of creating 7 spaces in that squad, which then probably allows you to sign another 4 or 5 players this summer, Drew.
Right, 4 or 5, then promote maybe promote a couple of.
Yeah, I think some of them spots will be supplemented by maybe a Fuskovic or a Donnelly or someone like that.
Right. I'd love to see Donnelly come back and be in the rotation for the 10s with Madison and Kulu. I think it'd be perfect if we're going to be try and be our strongest Premier League, Champions League. He'd be great for the cups. He'd be great for bottom half of the table, last 15, 20 minutes, give him those sorts of game minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like bottom 3, maybe have him start against, the teams that get promoted. So, yeah,
I look at him, Drew,
really promising.
Exactly. He's really promising. I can't get that FA Cup goal against Man City out of my mind either. That's unbelievable for a player of his age to deliver a goal like that. But look, everyone knows I've always been a big fan of Donnelly, and some people at times maybe called it biased or what have you not. But I've been absolutely spot on. I think looking at him now, he's had his experience out there in men's football. I think now's the time to bring him back in, let him learn to teach things that he can't learn out on loan. Valuable things off of Madison, off of Kulusevski, off of Son. Players like that he just can't get anywhere else. And I think that's the next step we need to take with him. I think it'd be no harm in keeping him around up until January at least, and then reassess it then, depending on what our needs are and whatever numbers we have to shift to be able to bring players in, etc., etc. But that's the way I would handle that situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Guys, there you have it. We're going to have a lot more streams once this is done, once I get back from my holidays and we've done all the end of season awards and all. We're going to start getting into the likes of the squad, the manager and all that sort of good stuff, and then start preparing for next season. But right now, for the next week or two anyway, it's Vibes FC. That's what we're on over here. But guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who has shown up today, who isn't too hungover, who isn't maybe gone delirious, and still cares about today's game to a certain degree. We will be back here for a watch along in about 15 minutes time. Hopefully we'll see you all there, continue on the good vibes, and then celebrate with the players at the end. Drewski, a massive thank you to you guys. This guy's commitment all season long. 3 a.m., 4 a.m. starts for this guy. And I've even said to him, Drew, even I find it tough at the minute. Take time. Have a day. No, I want to be there. This guy's support for this fucking football club, even though it's not accessible for him to get to the UK, is absolutely outstanding. And you know what? At times this year when maybe I was getting a bit frustrated or maybe questioning my own where I am on things and stuff like this guy has always kept me and helping me maintain that belief. So, Drewski, thank you very much for this season and everything you've done, my man. We'll keep getting you on over the summer and hopefully you want to stick with us again into next season and stuff like that. But it's been a fucking pleasure this season, my fellow European champion.
Nice one, dude. I really appreciate it. Big up to everyone in the chat. Don't forget to smash a like for this wonderful gentleman. He's helped me through a lot, especially in the last 12 months. We're having a little circle jerk of our own here, apparently.
Yeah, we are. Why not?
Why not? We are all champions at the end of the day. Enjoy this summer as much as you can. I've enjoyed this year. This has been my first full season at the Irish Hotspur, and long may it continue. So, yeah, I'll be here next year. Don't you worry. No need to transfer me out for anyone else.
No, definitely won't be. And people really enjoy your contributions and that as well.
Big up, Tyler.
But guys, I really do need to go to the toilet. I need to drop off the kebab at the rubbish bin. I'll see you back here in 15 minutes' time. As always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Champions.
Big up, everyone. Later.